But on that fateful night of Makara Sankranti, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu left his beloved mother and his wife Vishnupriya out of his supreme mercy for all of us. Somehow or other give us love of Krishna through the chanting of Krishna's holy names. The Lord swam across the river Ganga, and then he walked to Katwa, and there he met his sannyas guru Keshav Bharati, and Nityananda Prabhu, Gadadhar Pandit, Mukunda, Chandrasekharacharya, and some other devotees joined the Lord. Gadadhar Pandit was present for that most historical and auspicious event of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's acceptance of the renounced order of life from Sri Keshav Bharati. From there, by the arrangement of Nityananda Prabhu, they went to Shantipur, where they met with Sachi Devi and the other devotees and pacified their hearts. And then Sachi Mata told Lord Caitanya that you are my son, and if you go to Vrindavan, I will never see or hear anything about you again. But that same Krishna of Vrindavan is living in Puri as Jagannath, so please make your residence there, because it is quite close by. I will always hear news of your wonderful pastimes and welfare. So he went to Jagannath Puri. And Gadadhar Pandit, he came to Jagannath Puri, and Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu personally gave him a place to reside. Just southwest of the Jagannath temple, there is a beautiful garden near the sandy beach, which is called Yameshwar Tota. And there's a beautiful temple of the deity of Tota Gopinath. And Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu personally gave that place and gave that murti to Gadadhar Pandit to worship. In Jagannath Puri, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar Pandit again were inseparable. They were practically continuously together. And Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu would find the greatest bliss going to the Tota Gopinath temple to hear Sri Gadadhar Pandit narrate Srimad Bhagvatam. Throughout the day, when they were not having wonderful kirtan together, Gadadhar Pandit would recite Srimad Bhagvatam in such a way that anyone who would hear would immediately become filled with ecstatic and pure love for Lord Krishna. Sometimes for hours and hours and hours and days and days and days, Lord Caitanya would just hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit. When he described the story of Prahalada Maharaj, when he described the story of Dhruva Maharaj, Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was in such ecstasy, he would ask him, repeat it. And he would tell the whole story of Prahalada again. And Lord Caitanya would say, repeat it. And generally these two stories he would have to repeat over 100 times for the pleasure of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the nature of hearing transcendental subject matter. It is not that we hear a story and we think, now I know it. There's no need to hear it again. Tell me something else. Tell me something I do not know. Actually, the Lord's Leela is non-different than the Lord himself. The sound vibration of the Leela is non-different than the Leela itself. And every time we hear it, if we hear it submissively, in a humble state of mind, it reveals more and more and deeper realizations, understandings, and love for that particular Leela and for Krishna. Therefore, even if we only know one story of Krishna, I remember in my own life, I was living with one very great devotee, And every time I met him, he would tell me the story of Krishna stealing butter. And I'd ask him, please tell me another story. He said, okay, I will. And then he would tell me the story of Krishna stealing butter. And I'd say, please tell me another story today. And he'd tell me the story of Krishna stealing butter. I said, tomorrow, if I come back, will you tell me another story? He said, yes. And I would come back, and he would tell me the story of Krishna stealing butter. I said, why do you keep telling me the story of Krishna stealing butter? He was a devotee of Ram. I said, why don't you tell me about Ram? You are a Ram Bhakta. I didn't even know who was Krishna. I didn't know who was Krishna. I hadn't become a devotee. I was still searching everywhere. He said, because Ram appeared to me in a dream and told me you are a devotee of Krishna and you should only hear about him stealing butter. And I said, I don't believe you. And his response was, he told me the story of Krishna stealing butter. When Gadadhar Pandit would narrate Srimad Bhagvatam for the pleasure of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, they would both weep and cry so much that the combination of their tears would just flood the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam and make the ink go like this. Actually, Vrindavan Das Thakur explains how Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu had 3 very intimate associates in Jagannath Puri. He had many, but 3 in this particular category. He said Swarup Damodar Goswami was constantly absorbed in giving pleasure by singing sweet, sweet, sweet kirtan of Krishna's holy name. Even stone would melt when the sound vibration of Swarup Damodar Goswami's sweet kirtan would come in contact. And Paramananda Puri, he was always absorbed in meditation on Krishna's form, his names, and his lila. And Gadadhar Pandit was always completely absorbed in giving ecstasy to Lord Caitanya by his wonderful, wonderful descriptions of the Srimad Bhagvatam. Gadadhar Pandit was a sannyasi. After Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he actually accepted Tridandi sannyas in Vaishnav Sampradaya. And when he came to Jagannath Puri, he took the vow of Checha sannyas. Checha sannyas means someone who never leaves the holy place that they live in and never leave the deity that they are worshipping.
You were listening to Radhanath Swami on devotionalnectar.com.